You know, for years, we never put export controls on the table. China would ask, but we would always say no. It's national security, not up for negotiation. This has changed over the past few months. And I think China, now that that door is open, Beijing is not going to be shy about demanding more and more. And so this is going to be, as you said, a difficult needle to thread. But, you know, again, if the president wants a deal here and wants to go to Beijing and meet with Xi, this may be the price he has to pay.
So there is a precedent for this, and that is the Phase 1 trade deal. What are the lessons learned from this, especially for China? And looking back with the benefit of hindsight, did Beijing get the short end of the stick with Phase 1?
Absolutely, but China learned from the Phase 1 deal, and which was very one-sided. The U.S. got everything in the Phase 1 deal. We gave very little. I think this time around, China's going to insist that there be more balance in the agreement. And also remember, China has, since the Phase 1 agreement, has really tried to reduce their dependence on the U.S. market. So they're feeling pretty emboldened coming to the negotiating table.
Wendy, Elaine has a question.
Hey, Wendy. So moving forward, assuming that the deadline gets extended, what do you think are the biggest sticking points for China and the U.S. respectively?
Yeah. So, look, for the United States, I think we're going to be asking for China to deal with the export of all that excess capacity. And that's, you know, going to require China to consume more at home. I also think the United States will be pushing China to finally deal with fentanyl. That has been, you know, a long-standing issue of concern. I'm sure there's some market access issues. And frankly, I think the president's going to want another big Chinese purchase agreement, even though it didn't work during Phase 1. If you look at the other deals he's concluded with other trading partners, this seems to be what he's interested: big numbers, commercial impacts.
And on the note about China's economic rebalancing, does the U.S. have some leverage there, or does it share mutual interests with China in terms of shifting more to a consumer economy, do you think?
I think China is also beginning to realize that this excess capacity is hurting China itself. It's leading to deflation. It's leading to a lot of cutthroat competition between companies that are not making profits. So we may be at a juncture where there is a kind of a mutual, you know, we share common interests, maybe for different reasons, but maybe China would move here. What my concern is that they may say they'll move, but it will take time, and we won't see the difference in the marketplace, and that will frustrate the White House.
And Besson has sort of compared China to Japan in terms of changing or making reforms, saying that, you know, Japan's asset price bubble bursted in 1991 and didn't fix the banking issue until years later. And he said that tariffs could be one of those external catalysts to get China to change. But do you think China is sensitive to be seen as responding to American or external pressure?
Yes, and I think that is an excellent point, because if China's going to do this, it's going to do it for its own reasons, not because the U.S. is pressuring them.
Wendy, TikTok, as we know, is a cause célèbre. Will TikTok and U.S. ownership and investment, or a ban, is that going to come under the fold of these discussions?
I think so. We're going to need a resolution on TikTok, and even if it's not part of the actual agreement, there'll be conversations on the side to come up with some kind of final resolution here.
But the U.S. has got some, I've got to say, we had a graphic there of where things stand in terms of the trade deals, and there are about, let's count them, about 6 trade deals that the U.S. has under its belt. Still waiting on China, still waiting on India. Clearly, there is some momentum with the U.S. and Trump's approach here. Can you go as far as to say that the Trump administration is winning this trade war?
Well, for now, they are making incredible progress, and I think just over the weekend, having the EU clinch a deal with the United States is a turning point, along with Japan. I expect Korea to fall in place over the next few days. India, I don't think so, even though there was a lot of optimism early on. But this policy seems to be working, at least for now. And I say for now because, we're going to probably see other tariffs. A lot of these so-called deals are very vague, and we've already seen in Tokyo just different interpretations of what each side thinks it agreed to. So we're not out of the woods, but clearly the U.S. has leverage, and the other countries, when push came to shove, decided it's better to do a deal with Donald Trump than to risk not doing a deal and face an escalating trade war.
Increasingly, are trade deals with the US going to be characterized by a deeper commitment from these partner countries and the counterparties to buy not only more US energy to address the deficit issues, but also more US defense equipment?
Absolutely. We've already seen in some of these deals the announcement of big defense purchases. And I think, any Korea deal will also include that.
Thank you for that, Wendy. Elaine has a question.
I want to ask about this. I want to ask about this idea of winning the trade war. So Besant said that Trump is happy to do deals, but he's also sometimes happy to just get that tariff income. So what are the political and economic calculations for Trump when negotiating these deals? And can the income from tariffs even begin to offset the political and economic costs for American consumers and smaller businesses?
I mean, look, that's a great question. And frankly, the tariffs that are in place, except for the UK and all the other deals, are at least at 15%, if in some, up, like Vietnam, up to 20%. So that means increased revenue for the U.S. Treasury. So in some ways, Trump's having it both ways. He's doing the deals, but he's also getting needed revenue.
And what do you think China really, in terms of the end game for China here, what do you think that is with Trump specifically?
I think it's to avoid an escalating trade war, to buy time, to ensure that further measures won't hit them, and to allow them to continue on the path they're on in terms of, strengthening their market, putting money and resources into building technology, and frankly, building relationships with other trading partners beyond the United States.